Hey guys, I wanted to take a moment to discuss the tragic and untimely death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. There's been a lot of discussion regarding Charlie's security or lack thereof at the event in Utah. For reference, I once served with a federal law enforcement agency whose primary responsibility was to protect high-ranking members of our government. Afterwards, I served as a contractor with the intelligence and diplomatic community, specifically in the areas of security operations, planning, training, and support. With that said, I wanted to take a moment to ask that you not only pray for Charlie's family, but also for his security team. What they are going through mentally and spiritually at this moment is unimaginable. One of Charlie's non-security employees at Turning Point USA was quoted as saying the security team consisted of a former Secret Service member as well as former Marines. I don't know any of them personally. I don't know anything about their protocols or their procedures, but I have watched enough of his videos in the past to get an idea of how they functioned. First, let's discuss the basics of protective operations, also known as executive protection in the private sector or dignitary protection in the public or government sector. When assigned to protect someone, security teams utilize the concentric rings of security model. This is a layered security approach that's broken down into three areas of responsibility. You have the inner perimeter, the middle perimeter, and the outer perimeter. The concentric rings of security model is used and adapted based on the protected person's location. This could be their office, their residence, a hotel, an airport, private or public. They could be on a yacht, a wilderness resort, or in Charlie's case, visiting a university campus. The inner perimeter consists of the people directly responsible for the personal security of the person being protected. They are the hands-on element expected to perform the cover and evacuate protocol if an attack occurs, as well as counter the assault. Their area of responsibility is within the immediate area of the person they're protecting. In Charlie's previous videos, I have observed them standing on each side of him with other team members in front of, but slightly off to the side of him facing the crowd. They most likely had someone covering him on the back side of the tent he would sit under, and they most likely had someone with the primary vehicle to ensure it was ready to go in the event of an emergency evacuation, as well as not being blocked in or tampered with. Protecting someone inside a building is usually much easier than protecting someone sitting outside surrounded by a large crowd and buildings. The tent he would sit under not only provided him shelter and advertisement for the event, it also served as a concealment security measure. Unfortunately, the shooter found an opening and was able to take the shot. The third ring, or the second ring of security is the middle perimeter. This can consist of law enforcement, some other members of his personal security staff, as well as contracted security. They have the roles and responsibilities to perform crowd control, baggage screening, arrest and remove disruptive persons. They can also be plainclothes officers blending into the crowd to get a better idea of the crowd's disposition and to identify a potential threat within. This is generally accomplished through behavioral analysis, attack recognition, as well as threat assessment. Using their training and knowledge of the psychophysiological indicators an attacker may exhibit, they can ideally intervene and stop or at least interfere with the attack before it occurs. All members of the protection detail will use these skills regardless of their assigned location, especially the team members facing the crowd. That's a very in-depth topic in itself, and it's worthy of its own video if you're interested. The third concentric ring is the outer perimeter. This will usually consist of law enforcement and contract security personnel. They are responsible for the area outside the immediate location, such as the roads or walkways leading to the event. They would secure any elevated structures or terrain features, conduct counter surveillance, as well as screen baggage and vehicles if possible. This is a very basic description of the roles and responsibilities within the concentric rings. They can be adapted based on location, event size, and, as always, resources available. The most recent news reports state Charlie was there with his personal security team as well as 6 police officers. They may have been campus police or a combination of campus and local police. It is believed at this time Charlie was assassinated by a lone sniper on the roof of an adjacent building. One of the most difficult scenarios to protect someone is when they are below elevated features, also referred to as the high ground. If you don't have the resources to cover and or control the high ground, you're at a major disadvantage. This was most evident in the attempted assassination of Donald Trump at a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania last fall. If there isn't enough personnel available to control or at least secure access to the high points and rooftops, you could use drones and/or surveillance cameras to monitor those areas. I don't know if that technology was in use during Charlie's visit to Utah Valley University. Staffing all three rings is very resource intensive as well as very expensive. It also greatly depends on cooperation from the host venue. The investigation will be thorough. A commission may be appointed at some point, at some level of government, and eventually a full report will be released. Unfortunately, Charlie is no longer with his family, his friends, and his colleagues. He was an exceptionally bright and bold voice within the conservative movement. He put himself in harm's way to spend time with, educate, debate, and challenge the young people of America. He did this with a respectful and open to conversation personality. He stood strong for his faith and was respected by so many people at all levels of society. Please pray for Charlie's family and friends, but also remember his security team in your prayers. Many of them have been with him for a long time. What they are going through right now is very traumatic and life-changing. Pray that God will eventually bring them peace. Despite anyone's best efforts, the sovereign will of God will prevail. Thank you for watching.